What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to be doing a stream with DB in Wealth Group. As usual, it's the end of the month. Let's get into the charts.
For BTC, as you probably saw from the tweet that you wrote on a bit earlier, I've been in a short from 78,800 on a 12-hour bearish divergence on the RSI and on the OBV. If you use the Woods bot, you would have identified this very, very easily. So it's a double divergence when it is on the OBV, apart from being on the RSI, is always a bigger confluence divergence. And apart from that, we did have a retest of the diagonal trend line, right? So I've been saying for a while we're dealing with a diagonal range for crypto, not a horizontal range for crypto. So getting a 12-hour divergence into these range highs for me was a good confluence to be looking for a short position on BTC. The market has been going pretty strong, pretty aggressively towards the upside for 4 weeks, right? So it's been a positive price action in a sense for BTC. So got a bit overheated, getting to overbought areas on several higher time frames, like the 12-hour. Sentiment to me was getting a bit too positive for the level we were trading at, right? And that's usually the case. It gets very, very negative, let's say at these range lows. It gets very, very positive at range highs. And usually what you want to do is try to position against the crowd when you have technical confluences as well. So short on BTC, stops break even. I wouldn't want to see these range highs being retested again. If they do, then I would need to wait for another divergence to form, either on the 12-hour or the daily. What we can see currently is that we are having a breakdown from the trend line that you pointed out as well. So I'm personally not as interested in swing longs yet. I want to see this breakdown properly, possibly even towards 74K, where we have the SMA sitting right now on the 12-hour. We did lose the EMA, the 21 EMA on the 12-hour, which has been serving as support throughout this entire uptrend. And we're finding acceptance below that one. And we're also finding acceptance below Monday low, right? Apart from this diagonal trend line. With this 12-hour divergence, the RSI and the 50 area losing this level for now. So we will see how the 12-hour candle closes. But that being said, this has been the logic for BTC and why I've been taking that short position. I'm planning to hold this for a bit longer, to be honest. I'm not really a scalper. I'm more of a swing trader. I have a few zones of interest. As I said, 74K is a big zone of interest. And naturally, even the range lows. I mean, if we're trading in a full range and we have been going from range lows to range highs and from range highs to range lows, what does it exclude the possibility of us going to the range lows at 69 to 68K again? So it's definitely a very, very big area of interest. But of course, I will be considering more lower time frame levels as well. And as per usual, I will always get informed about my next moves on more lower time frame triggers. What does that mean? If I have 74K as a zone of interest, I need local confluence, right? I need a 30-minute divergence. I need a 1 hour, 2 hour divergence, whatever I can get for me to position into that level. So it's not only about identifying a level beforehand, but also making sure that you get the right triggers.
You do a good job at explaining the higher time frame there. I think people need to pay attention to what's happening on the macro first. So guys, just joining, I'm going to just reflect really quick on BTC again. I feel like there's a good segue from the higher time frame into the lower time frame. Now, I'd rather do that than go from the lower time frame to the higher time frame anyway. So again, from what I like to look at, current range we're trading in with the perspective of DV's chart that you guys just got confluence from, we can see that we're trading in this 1-day level of supply here. We're approaching oversold territory, and like DB said, if we push up into the range highs one more time, we should be breaching that oversold territory on the 1-day. That for me would be, I mean, extra confluence too short. Even though I would like to short a lower high here, I'm more or less looking at this current level of supply that we have right now. So I'm targeting a move towards like this low here. I'd want to see this liquidity taken out. I think liquidity matters a lot. And the only liquidity that's been piling up since the end of March. So you want to put that into perspective. The end of March until now, which is the end of April, because we're approaching monthly close, we have only seen higher lows. We've only climbed up. Literally up only this whole month. Okay? And now I think it's time for a retest, in my opinion. Things could change rapidly, though. We are just seeing a rejection now. If we were to successfully hold where we're rejecting from now, which would be this, like the exact entry that we had yesterday, things would look all right. But I would still be looking for a pop up into this level and a potential deviation. If we start to close upside out of this level of supply here, I'm more inclined to believe that we'll start to look for acceptance up into this previous range here, and then a potential move up into further testing this range that we broke down from previous. If we were to accept into this, I would expect that we get a deeper retest into this range here. I wouldn't expect that we were to retest 80K straight off. We already front ran 80K, so if we are going to push higher, in my opinion, we should push higher up into this range. Not saying 90K, not saying 100K. Is it possible? Sure. But I think initially, if you're looking for shorts, you don't want to get too aggressive just based off of this price action here. And that's if we start to accept above. On the lower time frame, more or less, like I was saying before, scrolling down to this 4 hour here. And for my analysis that I posted up in my corner, I want to see something like this. From a person that trades intraday like time frame like this, I'm looking at liquidity. People piled up on the 1 day here, shorting it, right? Into yesterday's closure. In my opinion, I think that we're going to test this 1 day open, and I think that we're going to take people shorting this out of their entries. I've seen a lot of these 1 day retests get rejected initially, so I'm more inclined to short or retest if we were to get that, anticipating people to maybe assume that we're going to flip the 1 day open before we eventually reject it, and either we'll just hold the zone here or we'll reject this low here and some liquidity here before maybe reversing it back upwards. I'm looking for one of these reactions on the intraday. I'm not looking for a breakdown or a breakout out of the zone just yet. Again, we have steep higher lows all the way from the end of March. We confirmed this move up and the break of the range towards the low end here, this lower time frame consolidation range, at the beginning of April. So to say that we're going to reject aggressively, I mean, you're assuming a rejection, which is where you would plan a swing, right? And if you're looking to plan a swing, in my opinion, you would look to plan a swing towards whichever area of extreme that we're heading towards first. And we're heading towards the short area of extremes here. We've already retested the top end. If we were to go up again and retest it again, I would be more inclined to short than I would be to long. So I'm not rushing long. I was already trying my longs yesterday. I haven't taken a stop in quite some time, and I took my first stop in 2 weeks. That for me is a signal to relax, chill out, see what's happening, and revise some plans, just like we're doing right now. From, a more like hourly time frame and shit like that, it just looks a little bit, it just doesn't look as nice as you would like it to. We already rejected the hourly level of demand. We have this hourly supply that ended up holding into the demand before we rejected. So people were clearly looking to enter here. Clearly, that's where price held before eventually rejecting. So now there's a setup intraday that would make sense if we were to push up into this level, close this hourly candle, and then accept here and start to push up. You get easy invalidation right below this wick, which makes sense because I was already using around these lows as my invalidation, right? That's 75.8 level was my invalidation. If we were to hold for BTC, I'm more inclined to believe that alts would hold a little bit stronger. Coins like Zcash, Hype, maybe even ETH, because ETH is showing lower time frame confluence to hold as well. We need BTC to hold though. So I'm not going to be chasing a lower time frame entry for long here with my invalidation below this low, targeting this level here. That's just not how I want to do things. I would rather leave my limit here for a short and execute on that when price comes due, if price comes due. In general, I think this is a bit more risky to try longs here today because you do get that easy invalidation. Easy invalidation meaning that you get a very tight invalidation. People enter their longs here and they move their stop loss up. So either we're going to target that or we're going to target this first. We have clear liquidity up here. That being people look to short the 1 day open yesterday after the close. And we have easy invalidation here. People looking to long this with their invalidation below today's low, right? This is a very tight invalidation, which makes me more inclined to believe that we could potentially see something like this, where we retest the hourly supply build up here, or even slightly above it, right here, before rejecting, sweeping, and then I could look for confluence somewhere here. Even though we already retested, I could still look for confluence somewhere here, just off of this whipsaw potential, and then maybe I'll look to enter here. Maybe we get an hourly divergence. We're already getting an hourly divergence here, but maybe we pile it up and hold this higher low on the RSI too. It pumps a little bit with price, and then it comes down and then holds again, and then we can look for more confluence to do some business here. I don't like to do like choppy business, and I'm not trying to do that. I would rather enter on extremes, not enter on the middle, and we're clearly in the middle here. That's why I like to paint my levels so that I understand where I'm looking at intraday. Um, so yeah, I feel like that's a good breakdown of BTC there. If you want to move on to any of the pairings you look at, some indexes, anything like that, I think that would do good right here.
What I did take as an additional confluence, and I'm just explaining this to people who have not joined my stream, right? Because I've been talking about this for quite a while. But if you're new, then I just want you to get a better understanding of my thought process. So I explained everything about BTC, like the 12-hour bearish divergence into range highs. What else I was looking at is oil and DXY, because these are two indexes or assets that are very important to my read on the market, right? So in the last couple of weeks, what we did basically have is a retrace on oil and a retrace on DXY. So for DXY, we can look at this. Let me just get rid of this and this. We did have a breakdown of this uptrend, right? So there's an inverse correlation between DXY and BTC. When DXY drops, it gives BTC and risk assets more room to run, right? So we did actually anticipate this breakdown for DXY a few weeks ago. And I actually did hedge against this breakdown with a BTC long. I believe it was at like 66K, 67K, and ended up closing it a bit too early. Not exactly where I shorted it, but regardless, that was the logic behind it. And now we did have this perfect retest here, right, for DXY. It was a bounce zone. And apart from that, we did have oil. And you did a very good job, by the way, in timing that oil local bottom in the last stream with a 4-hour divergence. So we did have oil looking good as well with breaking this trend line and finding acceptance above some EMAs and SMAs. And logically, oil rising to me signals that it can support a growth for DXY as well, because they have a direct correlation. It's positive, right? One is rising, the other rises as well. Usually it's DXY that follows oil. And having these charts in front of me, while BTC did get it slightly overheated, right? No question about it. It did have a 12-hour bearish divergence, which means that it needed quite a move towards the upside to get to a 12-hour overbought zone. I was getting three different signals for me to head short, right? Because I was anticipating a breakout for oil here, a successful retest for DXY at that trend line, and that would give us a more risk-off environment in the markets, right? And that's why I think BTC has been dropping in the last few hours. Of course, nothing drastically, down 3-4%. I don't think bears or bulls have anything to celebrate yet, right? Maybe one side will at some point, but we're still trading in a range, and we have to treat it as such until proven otherwise. Right? My macro thoughts on BTC, let's leave that aside. Let's just focus on the more short-term levels, right? Because I think I've mentioned my macro thesis about BTC many, many times, and I think this is more relevant, right, on more lower time frames. So I think bulls have a reason to celebrate once we clear this side. Bears have reason to celebrate once we clear this side. And in between, of course, you can try and short this and hope for a range low retest again, right? That's the most ideal scenario. And anything in between is just for scalping. So that's it regarding BTC. Just wanted to illustrate how, apart from technical indicators, I also use some macro indicators like oil and DXY time my position. Apart from that, I think SPY, so SPX basically, the ETF, is at a very, very big zone. It's been trading in this parallel channel for many, many years, since 2022, and has a weekly bearish divergence. So this is not an area where I would be looking for long exposure or spot exposure on stocks. Reclaim this area and you no longer have to worry about this channel. But here, I think you're under resistance, so additional confluence here as well. How low we can drop at some point, we will have to see. I mean, I just got front run on SPX, unfortunately, a couple of weeks ago. So I'm gonna trade this level by level as well. But realistically speaking, on the macro, you're still trading in this parallel channel. The range lows have been good for buying. For example, April 2025 was a perfect retest of these range lows. And then last year in December, and we got the local top for SPX at these range highs, and now we're back at these range highs. So just for macro orientation, additional confluence for a short position, anticipating a little pullback from stock markets here as well. In regards to other indexes, don't want to get too deep into this. I think nothing has really changed regarding USDT dominance. I still see this as a bull flag or a channel, range lows, range highs, mid-range. We've been holding mid-range. Surprisingly, we don't have a bullish divergence on USDT dominance while we have a bearish divergence on BTC. Usually, when we get a divergence on USDT dominance, we also get one on BTC. But what happened this time? BTC really ran towards 79K, while the secondary market has been underperforming. And that is because BTC dominance has been strong and ETH BTC has been weak. I'll get to that in a second. So for here, again, neither bulls nor bears have anything to celebrate yet. We need one side of this range to break. My personal preference, and I'm leaning towards upside for USDT dominance, but that's another story. On more lower time frames, what we discussed on Monday is this compressing triangle, which was an additional confluence to why I did take a short. We were compressing very hard here, got this retest after CME markets opened on Sunday, early Monday, and then continued higher. And now we have the breakout and we are above Monday high as well. So this has been the thought process. Now, I think this can continue a bit higher. At least we get back to these highs again at these range lows. And then I would be looking for, let's say, a 2-hour bearish divergence or a 4-hour bearish divergence for new long positions on either BTC or anything else. So as you can see, market trading on a diagonal range. I still believe that we are in a macro downtrend. That's another topic as well, but just wanted to give some updates. One last thing that I've mentioned a few times, and we did discuss this in our last stream, and if people paid attention, they caught a really nice short on this. You know, I think my analysis is a bit for people who go that extra mile themselves. You know what I mean? I don't always give a ready-to-use setup. I discuss many things, but I also expect people to draw these charts themselves. You know, try to make sense out of it and make decisions out of this as well. Apart from that BTC short, I covered a bit more in detail. But for ETH BTC, what we basically said is that we are trading in this range. We do have a double daily bearish divergence into these range highs. So this is not an area where we want to have exposure towards ETH, neither on spot nor on longs. If you bought lower, that's something else, but I'm talking about fresh positions, right? So we're seeing not only this divergence playing out, but we're also seeing ETH BTC dropping below this trend that it has been holding, right? So we can see this breakdown here. And I'm pretty confident that we will get this index at least at mid-range at some point. Range lows, we will see. It's ambitious, but we will see, right? It depends a bit on BTC. If we do get this at some point, I think it's a big spot to buy ETH on spot. I think this is a very bullish pattern, don't get me wrong, because this is a bull flag on higher time frames, right? Yes, it can mean ETH can go through a bit more pain in the next few weeks, but ultimately I could see us doing something like this, either retest here or here, and then break out, and I could see ETH outperform BTC. So something worth taking note on. And BTC dominance here as well. We painted this perfectly with this breakout on, so especially on the 3-day. The RSI here is very important. because here, look what we drew. We get this 3 drive bullish divergence, breakout of the RSI here on the 3-day, and then we got the breakout, which led to that weakness in ETH BTC. And I think this is the reason why we did have a bearish divergence on BTC, but not a bullish divergence on USDT dominance, because anything else has been lagging due to the strength of BTC dominance. So this is more or less it, to be honest. Don't want to get more in depth into the market. Let me know if you have any questions, any comments, if you don't agree with something, but this is more or less what I'm looking at right now. Some continuation of what we've been discussing in previous streams, some new ideas, but more or less on the macro. As I said, still macro ranging. Might not seem like a range when you trade between 66K and 79K, but from a macro perspective, it is still a pretty big range, I would say.
Yeah, I love that analysis. I like the way you break down the indexes as well. I always used to use USDT dominance as a way to plan my swings, intraday, weekly, monthly, whatever the case may be. It's very, very slow, just like the rest of the market. So as far as an index to pay attention to, it's important. It might take time to play out, but eventually it will, and it'll give you good directional opinions on the market, especially on the higher time frame. I think right now, especially on the higher time frame. So we're trading within that level of demand, and you can see on the flip side compared to BTC, like we have this area of supply that we talked about right here, and then on the inverse side for USDT.D, we have the demand here. So you can see the exact adverse reaction happening from both pairings, the index and BTC. On CL, like you said, we were on stream and we absolutely smashed the CL read. We were reading this at the bottom as it was planted. We had this 1-day pileup of demand over here. And I said it with that ETH short. Unfortunately, I'm not riding the opinion that I had on ETH. I closed fully on that pop-up over the weekend. Just moved my stops up, and I didn't play out that opinion, which unlike DB, he is playing that swing out. If I was playing a swing like that, I would have played the whole position. I wouldn't take profit. But because I've been scalping, thankfully I took profit on that ETH position. But again, CL was a great indicator of where the bottom was. We printed this 1-day demand here. We ended up retesting it ever so beautifully after closing this first candle above it, and we absolutely exploded from there. I don't know how the liquidity exactly works on the perps for this. I put my entry at 87.20 for this, and look how fucking perfect. I mean, almost got like filled absolutely beautifully. It ended up front running us by like, I think like 20 cents, maybe like a little bit more than that. I mean, it was almost perfect. Ended up front running us, but with that came a very good ETH short in timing. I'm going to pull up that ETH chart right here. I shorted ETH right over here. So in line with CL painting a bottom, ETH was painting a top. And we ended up confirming that top on a lower high print here into that weekend price action. CL never really gave a good retest. And now we've just continued up only on CL. So what I want to see here, because I've been wrapping up this into my Confluence as of late, is I want to see what happens from this 1-day level here. We had the same thing happen out of this level of demand and a retest thereafter. And now we're seeing the same pile up here, just like we saw previous, with a push up out of the zone. If we push up out of the zone, close above, and we kind of see what happens here. We have this high here. If we close below this high, then that's going to be an SFP confirmed on CL. We still have this demand pile up right down below. So if we close above this box and we come down into it, we have to see how price reacts here. This, for me, would make sense to either hold or reject, and the crypto market would do the adverse to whatever reaction this wants to give. So these are the scenarios that I have right now relative to the bottom. I don't like to time impulse candles. I don't like to really look for confluences to enter on consolidation on the lower time frame here, assuming up or down. I'd rather execute on areas of extreme on the higher time frame and then scalp when price stalls. So what am I saying? What does that mean? When price is in an uptrend, and I'm going to bring up hype as just a recent example, when price is in an uptrend like this, you're going to get lower time frame areas of consolidations. And I'm really talking about this level here, like from this consolidation up to here. Within this price action here, there's going to be lower time frame candles and lower time frame areas of consolidation that gives you a mean to enter positions. And let's take this one as your example right here. So in this lower time frame area of consolidation, I'm saying lower time frame very lightly because price action is taking a very long time to resolve towards any given side. Eventually, this consolidation ended up breaking up and flipping, right? On the higher time frame, these candles look impulsive. On the lower time frame, they give you a lot more of a range to do your business in. I'm not looking to predict those moves. I'm looking to enter on extremes, exit at the other extreme, enter on extreme, exit at the other extreme, enter on extreme, exit at the other extreme. And if I catch half of my position to the upside or the downside, whichever way it wants to break, I'm cool with that. In uptrending environment or downtrending environment, you can play those consolidations for convincing swings with easy invalidation below the most recent painted low or high end of liquidity. And you could even tie that into the most recent, like higher time frame price action. We had this low here on hype that we ended up sweeping ever so flawlessly and closing back above. We confirmed the SFP there before continuing up further and printing into new highs, right? This can get sweeps matter, liquidity matters, and this is what's going to fuel the next move. But it's important to realize the range you're trading in, how long you've been trading it in, and the reactions that are occurring from any given point of that range so that you can then do your business accordingly. You're not looking to get caught up in every single liquidation here happening in the lower time frame. That does not make sense. That's why I draw my levels. That makes sense to me. I tie in the confluences. That makes sense to me. I talk to the people that I not only respect, but I like their analysis and thought process throughout, like DB, like John, like Rigo, certain people that I pay attention to that I can tie in my confluence well. Whether I agree or disagree with their analysis, that doesn't matter. All that matters is that I'm taking the information that they have to give and I'm tying that into the positions that I'm looking to take, right? The positions that I'm looking to take, because that's what really matters to me. Everything else really doesn't matter at all. What matters is entering a position and profiting from that position, or entering a position and taking a loss. That's information. Losses are information, just like wins are as well. Wins, you're taking home profit. Losses, you're learning from those lessons, right? So from a 4-hour perspective, if I was like, the reason why I don't want to target any specific breakdown is because if I was, then I would look to enter a short with my stop loss above this high. This is aggressive continuation, at least this low. It doesn't make sense to take a position like that. From an RR position, maybe a little bit. Again, the reactions being had matters. The reactions that we're seeing on this upside move is up only this whole month. We've only been seeing upside this whole month. From the end of March to the end of April, we've only been seeing upside. So to anticipate a breakdown, I mean, is really aggressive to say the least, right? You're entering your short here, invalidation above the 1 day here, which I anticipate to get retested before the monthly closes. And then you're targeting sweeps. Like you're targeting a 1,000, like you're targeting $1,000 move to the downside to do what? Secure fully, secure half before it reverses all the way, and then you're not looking for a long. That doesn't make sense given the current terrain we're in. And that's why I like to keep a scalper's mindset on the most recent price action. Granted, again, with ETH, you do get chopped up and you don't get to ride the full entry if you're not re-executing. I didn't end up re-executing. I wasn't at the chart at that time. I wasn't looking. Sure, I was looking at the chart, but I wasn't really looking to execute on anything. And this goes to show you how each perception of your positioning matters. If you're scalping or swinging, you're doing it for a reason. You're not blindly doing it. So I really just want to like hone in on that. I think that's a very important thing that people do not understand. They do not risk positions accordingly for that. They'll enter the same positions that they're entering for swings in scalps and wonder why they're draining their accounts. You're not looking to drain your account on these leverage positions. You're looking to enter on extremes, premiums into discounts. You're looking to exit on premiums. You're looking to enter on discounts, right? These are what I look at. And I mean, to tie in like a lot of other things, I like to look at Coinbase premium. If it's in a discount or a premium, I like to see what's happening. I've been using futures to spot. I think that's important to look at as well. I don't know if you look at any of those confluences as well, DB. I don't know if you look at any outside confluence other than your index and all that stuff. All this to say, guys, it's like you could tie in a lot of things. There's so many things to tie in. But if you overcomplicate things, you're really going to do yourself a giant disservice in this current market, especially in this terrain. Whenever the trend gets going to the upside, turn your brain off a little bit. Play uptrends accordingly. Like you see a higher low, enter with your invalidation below the last low, and you're most likely going to have a profitable position. In today's market, it's a little bit, it's a little bit choppy. Like you don't really need too much price action to see how choppy it is. We do have FOMC tomorrow, which I actually forgot about, DB. I did not realize we have FOMC tomorrow. So keep your eyes onto that as well. FOMC's tomorrow. We're seeing price action occur towards the most recent low within like this most recent chop range that we're seeing here, right? So that's something to note. We're at the lows here, looking to break and sweep it. FOMC's tomorrow. We just rejected this choppy extreme end of the range 3 times, and we're looking to hold it for a second time here. I'm more inclined to believe that we'll hold the low and retest higher first. So if ETH again wants to even hold here, I'd be okay with that. I'd want to see how this level reacts, and then we'd maybe get a sweep here and then a move up here. We've been blessed with recent volatility in price, just like you said as well, DB. So if we were to get something like this, I don't even know if I'd really be looking to react on a short. I'd be looking to more react on a long here. On BTC, I'd be looking to react to a short just because, again, my perception of alts here are a little bit skewed. If we were to hold on BTC and push up to where I assume it to hold, I can see ETH going a little bit stronger. So even if we don't hold this for a short, I could see us still retesting the same short entry that we had for a third time. I could still see that happening. And I'm more inclined to be a little bit cautious on alts when it comes to a short. I think that you had a lot of good opportunity to do so. And coins like Hype, I'm more inclined to look for bids. I'm more inclined to look for bids on coins like Hype because it's been very strong recently. It's had no real recent take of the highs. It's actually confirmed a lower high here in price. So we'd want to see where the most logical level for reentry is. I see this level of demand here, and I also see this level of confluence right down below. Everything else in the middle is pretty much air, unless I was to open up the 4-hour here. On the 4-hour, I like this level right down below. Originally, I painted the level that it's currently at right now. It already retested that level. You could enter this level with your invalidation below the low. I think that makes sense if you assume BTC to hold pretty soon around these lows to push up into the 1-day. I think this makes sense. I don't think it's worth putting a lot on this position, but I do think it makes sense. And my market bot, I do believe longed Hype. It did long Hype at 39.68, which gives it a little bit more confluence. I mean, it's longing for a particular reason. I mean, RSI divergences, into indicator levels. It all makes sense, but it's not worth putting a lot on. And I think that's super relative to what I was just talking about positioning, scalping or swinging. If I'm looking to take positions right now into the monthly closing with FOMC coming up, I think it's important to realize that one side of liquidity is going to get taken, and it's going to be either the lows or the highs. When shorts react like this into a clear level of supply, after holding liquidity behind here, I'm more inclined to believe that we're going to go lower before higher. So I'm not looking to enter here. And I could be wrong, but not having a position is also a position of power because you have the ability to enter things after the fact. If I see Hype reject out of this level and sweep these lows, I will be looking for an entry closer towards the 37.7 region. I really like the 36.80 region. I think that's good. But I do think that would overextend the move down on Hype. That would be another 8% move down. That would be 15% down from the most recent high over this weekend. And that would be a 20% move down from the local highs that we have planted at 45.80. Hype's on my radar. As far as Zcash goes, I like the area of confluence that it's in right now. It's one of the only coins that I can flick in and see area of confluences. The one thing that I don't like about Zcash is that we have this long 4-hour demand here that was ultimately rejected all the way up into my zone of confluence. That's still a support level until we break down. If we break down and start to close 4-hour below this level, then for me, we should anticipate the next level below, which would be that 300 level, or maybe even that 310 for higher low print. If we start to close up into this level here, which would be that previous 4-hour level of demand, I would assume that we should start to test the middle end of this range. So 344 for Zcash, in my opinion, intraday should be a good target for longs. I don't even see short confluence for Zcash. I don't see a reason to be shorting it even on a pop. It's been moving adverse to the market, and if we get a little bit strength, it should hold. And for me, this is a coin of interest. Honestly, Tau and Zcash are the only coins. Tau, unfortunately, it held. It took very, very, very long to play out. We were holding this level for a week, and we did end up holding that low that I spoke about in numerous streams, numerous videos. We had a very easy low to hold, and we eventually held that low. We're currently printing lower time frame divergences, but the more times a level's, the more time a level's tested and it holds, the more likely it is to hold, especially after the most recent moves it had. Tau fell flat with some news, and now it's looking to hold after a 38% move down. I would not be looking to fade Tau, just like I wouldn't be looking to fade Zcash. They are in the same exact. They are the same exact when it comes to alts that I'm looking at as far as interest. Tau a little bit more strong on the day, but you could see scrolled out, not as strong as Zcash was. So a few things I'm looking at. I don't know if you're looking at some alts, DB, that you wanted to bring up on your radar. I know you talked a little bit about ETH BTC. And the reason, again, guys, I want to bring this up as well. ETH BTC is showing a little bit of strength relative to the market. I wouldn't be looking to short ETH right now. If you were looking to short ETH, you were looking to do that over the weekend. You're not looking to do that now. Let's just take a look at a few indexes here really quick. And as far as price action, I think that's good to wrap it up for zones and areas before FOMC and monthly closing comes. On total two, we are still in a range, so we have not even broken out of the current range we're in. Just like on BTC, where you can see on BTC, we broke out the top end of the range, and we're going to look to push into the lower end of it. I still have my areas of confluence below, which is why I like longs there. On total two, we haven't even broken out of the top end of the range yet. So this shows you the current landscape of alts right here. This is going to project where alts are going to go. If this is not going to break out, alts are not going to break out. If this begins to break out of this zone and out of the top end of the range and out of the supply zone that we're currently trading in, then I do think that will go higher. Right now, alts are capped, so only a few are moving. You really want to be cautious in the ones you play. I do want to add on to that as well. I do like Bitcoin Cash. I have had this on my radar for quite some time. I do like it, and I have my eyes on it. It broke out of this wedge sort of pattern, which is a reversal pattern. It's not confirmed to reverse. Again, you want to take a look at those indexes, which is why I like to look at that index. And on that index, total two specifically, we're not breaking out of the range. So to say that alts are going to hold and break out specifically, you're assuming things that I don't think you should assume right now. I think that you get a lot better confirmation for alts, even on a flip for Bitcoin Cash, for instance. If we get a flip above 476, 484, that for me would make good assumption to believe that we'll start to target this upper wick here, and I could get into a much more convincing position here. For now, you're assuming that total two musters the strength to start to push right back up to the highs, because I don't see a reason for an alt like Bitcoin Cash to be super. For Ethereum, we got a long signal from the bot. Obviously, there was an hourly divergence there. We swept the Monday low. We are in an area of confluence. So there's three confluences already at this level, right? You have the Monday range swept. You have an hourly divergence right over here, ever so slightly in price. You have that zone of confluence. There's a few confluences here for ETH. So I'm watching what happens. I'm still inclined to believe that we retest the 1 day first, and we sweep down below the confluence area, and then we come back up. That's the confluence area. So for ETH right now, I just want to leave off with this because I think it makes sense right now. Is that we do have the confluences, and I tell people all the time, if you have 3 confluences, it makes sense to take a position. In some aspects of the market, it's okay to be patient. You don't have to enter a trade if you have 3 confluences. That's not a rule that I have. I don't have a rule that says if I have 3 confluences, I'm entering. No, that just makes a play more worthy to enter, right? You don't execute just because you have 3 levels of confluence. That makes no sense at all. You need to have a good feeling of the market. And if you don't have a good feeling, you don't enter a position. We have FOMC tomorrow. We have monthly closing coming up shortly after that. We have just broken this trend on ETH as well. We have reached the range highs on BTC. CL has printed a bottom. It's at $100. Economic news, obviously, that's all over the place. We have a ceasefire. We don't have a ceasefire. We have a ceasefire. We don't have a ceasefire. Whatever Trump feels like doing, he's going to do. It's okay to understand that this price action is going to be choppy and to execute it accordingly. And that's how I'm going to look at the market. I know that's how you're looking at it as well, DB, right now. You look at it from more higher time for perspective. We did a good job right there. I'm going to make sure that this gets posted accordingly. I think that's a good place to end it. Anything you want to end off with there, DB?
No, I think we covered everything. I also loved your analysis also on more lower time frames. I think there was something for everybody, whether that's on the macro side of things or lower time frames. I think we covered it all.
Yeah, I appreciate that, bro. Unfortunately, on the lower time frame, it's just like it's choppy, man. It's so hard to explain certain things and tendencies you do as a trader that make you want to enter a position on the lower time frame right now. And on the higher time frame, you get more of an in-depth reasoning behind things, which is why I like to explain the higher time frame. On the lower time frame, I just like to keep hammering in liquidity matters, liquidity matters, liquidity matters. Whenever you see a high print and a low print that means something, you react accordingly. And that's pretty much how I've been scalping lately. So hope you guys got something from that. I appreciate you always, DB. I love your high time frame analysis as usual. We're gonna hop on as usual, guys, next week on Tuesday. We'll probably be doing these streams a lot. I like to host the streams. I know you always like to host stream, DBs. But thank you guys for coming by.
Thanks for having me again, and thank you guys for joining. And take care. Have a good day.